This is Main Street with Gary Allen. Now, here's Gary.
And good afternoon, everybody. Gary Allen with you. Glad to be back on C News Network right here with the Miller Brothers. Thank you to Grant. Thank you to Mike Miller. I also want to thank my executive producer, Ilion and Andres. They're both in the studio right now. It's so good to be back on the airways here in Miami. It's been a while, but we're going to make this work on a regular basis. Every Tuesday afternoon at 2 p.m., we're going to have a show for you next week. I'll tell you about that as we continue to move forward. But first of all, I just want to thank everybody who made it possible for me to be back on the air down here. My partner in crime, Mr. Rick Del Vecchio, who you'll meet in just a couple of minutes, along with everybody, including the Miller Brothers, making it possible for me. And I thank you all very, very much for allowing me to participate in the broadcast industry down there in South Florida. We've got a great show for you this afternoon. Let me just tell you briefly who's coming on. We have the president of the Elks Lodge, 1676, Miss Debbie Gillibart. Bill Bang was supposed to join us, but something happened. He's the president of Lodge 948. Something came up on a personal level. Maybe he'll join us down in the future. Along with Rick Del Vecchio is also an elk and the president of the Friends of the Japanese Garden, and he has a guest with him as well. So without further ado, let's get on with the show.
Hey, Gary, how you doing?
Hi, everybody. How are you? How are you, Madam President?
I'm good, thank you. And you?
Did I get the name right?
Gillibart.
Gillibart. Well, I know I was going to get something wrong today. Anyway, before we get into the program about the Elks and everything you do, and Rick, would you like to introduce Alex to the audience?
Sure. Fellow to my right is Alex Teixeira. We've been friends for 20 some odd years through magic, which is our hobby / profession. And Alex is also a fellow elk, member of the Magic Club, and recently started working with me with the Friends of the Japanese Garden as well. So Alex has joined us today because we started off along with Debbie a bunch of new programs at the Elks Lodge that we'll talk about later.
And also, I just want to thank Alex. Alex, for those of you out there that are looking for a great voiceover guy, Alex is the man to speak to. He did the imaging for me on this particular program, and so I'm very grateful to you, Alex. Thank you so very much.
You're welcome, Gary.
Before we get into the programs like the ENF and the veterans programs that go on with the Elks organizations, I want to ask each and every one of you, what is it about the Elks that attracted you to them, and why did you join, and what has been the most satisfactory aspect of it for you so far? Madam President, if you would take the floor first.
Okay, well, I'd like to start off by saying thank you for having me. And I'm originally from Key West, and my father was in the Elks. He was also in the Moose, and I always saw and knew that they did really good things to help people. And that's one organization that I was very interested in being a part of. And because they have things for children, for veterans. To me, it was just a great organization to be a part of. And I'm really proud to say that I am. We help out a lot of people.
Rick?
Yeah. Funny, about 15 years ago, my Magic Club needed a place to meet. And one of my other fellow magicians, Jim Progress, was a member of the Magic Club as well as the Elks. And he says, why not meet over here at the Elks? So we started that over 15 years ago, and it's been a great relationship since. And of course, I met some great people, as Debbie mentions, at the Elks Lodge. One gentleman who's no longer with us, John Sorgi, is kind of responsible for getting me into being an officer. He basically said, Rick, why don't you be an officer? I said, I don't have the time. Well, just be a trustee. They don't do anything. Total lie, but it was a funny way to get me into it. And then one year, about a year or two later, he says, we need an ER. And I said, no, I can't do that, So the night of voting, okay, everybody's going in, election night, and he pulls me into the office. He says, listen, we got a major problem. If we don't have ER, they're going to close our charter down. I don't know if that's true or not. They probably wouldn't have, but I ended up being in ER, and I served actually 3 terms so far in the last few years. And, I brought in a lot of money soliciting funds through various fundraising efforts and fighting with insurance companies and whatnot. But I got to tell you something. My situation is, some people know, my wife was stricken with Alzheimer's 7 years ago. And I've gotten more out of the Elks just by the family of the Elks, accepting my wife in her condition. And we go there 3-4 times a week, and it gives her a social life and me a break too. So it's
Yeah.
a two-way street. So a lot of volunteer work, but it pays back 10 times over.
Yeah, I mean, I know what you're going through, Rick, because you and I have been friends for what, 35 plus years now?
Yeah.
And so I know what you're going through. I had family members that are going through Alzheimer's as well. Alex, you're a relatively new member to the Elks. What was it about the Elks that got you interested?
Well, it's funny Rick mentioned about trustee and how they got him to be a trustee, because I am now a trustee for a very similar reason. I said, I'm very busy to be an officer, and they told me, well, the trustee doesn't do anything. So now I'm a trustee.
It worked on me and worked on him.
I just started as a trustee, and I recently joined the Elks. Yeah, because the Magic Group met at the Elks Lodge.
Mm-hmm.
So through the years, I've met a lot of different people. Of course, I've known Rick for 20 plus years, and some of the other members of the Magic Club who are Elks as well. And then being there at the club, they have activities. A lot of times we'd be in the Magic Club doing our thing in one of the rooms, and because they have a game room, they have a lounge there's a ballroom.
Well, I mean, it sounds like it's
there.
Yeah. It sounds like you're having a whole lot of fun with it. I guess I'll be a trustee eventually. Somebody will talk me into that and tell me, there's not a lot involved with that. It's like when I served in the Air Force, it was like, just no, being a helicopter pilot, you don't have a lot to do. Sure. Okay. Right. Yeah.
I'm about to find out, Gary. But anyway, so I really met some very cool, interesting people, and I love the charitable aspect of the Elks Lodge. We do a lot of charitable activities with veterans, like Debbie mentioned, and many others. And the family aspect, as Rick mentioned as well, because you can go anywhere. I can go to Nebraska, and they'll be on Elks Lodge there, and people are going to take me in, and those people are vouched for. If you're an elk, you're vouched for. You're a good person. And they'll take me in as family, and I'll feel right at home wherever I am. In an Elks Lodge. So that really interested me as well. So I've been very happy as a member so far.
One thing I want to mention here, and we'll talk about it further as we move into the program, but Rick, you have an event coming up this weekend at the Lodge.
Yes.
You want to briefly talk about that, and then we'll follow up with it as we move forward.
Yeah, this is our charity ball, and it's called Jazz. Am I messing this up, Debbie? Jazz, Gin, Money, and Murder. And it's basically a mystery, murder mystery dinner show. We'll start off with a cocktail hour in the lounge. There'll be great music by Jeff Zavak. This guy is an unbelievable performer, musician. He plays the piano, the saxophone, the trumpet, dozens of instruments, sings, and he's going to be performing in the cocktail lounge. And that's from 6 to 7. Then from 7 to 8 is the dinner magic show. We have a nice catered dinner. And if anybody wants to go, it's $55. They can go to elks1676.com and click on events, and it'll take you right there, and you can make your reservation. And then after the dinner, we have DJ Alan Smith, who's going to play music from line dancing from the 1930s, 1920s, popular music, line dancing. There'll be something for everybody. And it's a great event.
When you were mentioning the title of the event, that sort of reminds me of when I go to visit one of my agents. You never know what you're going to get out of it. Do other lodges participate, like with your event coming up this weekend? Will Lodge 948 and other lodges in South Florida, Debbie, participate, showing up, coming to those events? And what is the crossover with other lodges in South Florida? Because I know there's more than 2 or 3. But what is the crossover as far as events are concerned, and helping each other with things that are going on, like the ENF and the Adopt a Veteran and the veterans programs?
Well, we all try to support each other. There's time, when we have, for example, our karaoke, we don't have it the same night as 948 because we all try to support each other and make everything available. 948 had their charity ball in November. A lot of our members, they could, went over and supported it. We have lodges in the in Tavernier, which is the Florida Keys Lodge, and they have a lot of events going. And when we can go, it's a very family oriented community where we will participate whenever we can. We'll take a bus. You know, we've taken a Greyhound bus to visit our Umatilla youth camp, and on the way up, we've stopped at other lodges, and had dinner there, and just we do everything we can. It's not a competition. We just really work well together.
There are a lot of organizations out there, folks, that do things for their communities, but I don't think anybody quite crosses over into so much help for veterans and for people in the communities, scholarship funds and things along those lines, such as the Elks. Debbie, can you talk about that just for a little bit, why the Elks really have a broad brush that they paint with in comparison to other organizations?
Well, I think that we're really known for helping the veterans and helping the children who have problems with, that just stray. We try to bring them together. We try to give them activities. I have been a member of other lodges, and I just have not seen so much go into helping the community. We make sure that, we'll go in hand with the South Miami police officers and help out with food and anything we can do like that. And I find that the Elks are right there ready to help. And, I haven't seen that there are a lot of good lodges, but I just feel that the Elks are really, really on top of things when it comes to them.
I know Rick knows this very, very well, being my friend for so many years. And one of the things that I want to do when I come home, eventually, and I was supposed to be home by now. Remember that, Rick? Yeah, I was supposed to be home by now. One of my things, that I want to get involved in, Debbie, is the veterans, being one myself, helping them out as much as possible. Rick, you have been involved with the Elks, and you've been a member of the board. You've been there for quite some time. How is the work going along as far as helping veterans, the ENF, and talk about adopting a veteran and working with the Veterans Association, the Veterans Administration?
Sure.
How is that coming along?
Well, the ENF, for those that don't know, it's the Elks National Foundation. They have over $600 million in a trust, and the interest earned or the revenues earned each year are used to support all the lodges. Last year, for instance, we gave away, the ENF gave away over $300 million in charity, and a large portion of that did go to veterans. I write grants for our lodge to the ENF, and we just got $5,500 in November. And we used that to have a barbecue. We called it a Veterans Appreciation Day barbecue on Veterans Day. And we worked with the Miami VA. We worked with adult care daycare centers that help veterans. And together we were able to get 75 to 80 veterans to our lodge for a barbecue. Now that's well and good, but we also gave them baskets that contained, for the men, it was men's underwear, undershirts, toiletries, and gift cards, for food gift cards. And for the lady veterans, we gave them also the toiletries, but we gave them there's an unbelievable amount of lady veterans with families in Miami that are homeless. And we gave 40 of them gift cards to Publix at $40 each. So we gave away $5,600 in the month of November. And then in the past year, during the pandemic, it was over $20,000 that we raised for the veterans. Plus, as Debbie pointed out, we worked with the police department to feed about 250 homeless families for about a week during the pandemic, where we went out with the police and delivered baskets of food to each household. So it's a great, the charitable aspect is unbelievable. And I want to mention, you met Fred Jaka, Captain Fred Jaka.
Yes, I really like that man. I really do.
Fred is a Vietnam vet as yourself, and Fred is our Veterans Affairs liaison. He visits, in addition to the money that we raise to the ENF and those projects we do every few months, every week, Fred takes gift cards down to the VA center, the PTSD centers, the ladies, veterans, and gives gift cards to hand out to homeless veterans so they have something to eat. and he does that 2 or 3 days a week. He spends
Yeah.
just visiting those centers. So he's really been a great asset, not only for the Elks, but for the veterans here in South Florida.
Before we get too deep in the weeds with a lot of different things, I want to first let people out there who are not familiar with the Elks, where did this all begin? And Debbie, if you want to talk about it, Rick, you want to talk about it, Alex, you're just a trustee at this point. You're on the outside looking in like me. But
I'm
if you
learning.
want to talk about where this all began, how did the Elks begin, and how has it blossomed into this wonderful organization that is there for so many?
Okay, well, I'll take that. In 1867 in New York, there was a small group of entertainers and actors that wanted to get together and meet and a social event. And so they did. They met weekly as the Jolly Corks. And the name Jolly Corks came about because I believe that was a game that was played at the bar. And the
Yes, it is.
organizer of the group, it was the one that gave them the names. They met regularly and for no special reason, but just to socialize. And they didn't really have a purpose. Well, shortly after joining or becoming a group, one of the members died, and it left the wife and the children in destitute. So they wanted to help the family of the member, but then they realized they wanted to do more than just help themselves. They wanted to help other people. So that's when they decided in 1868 in February to become the lodge, the Elks Lodge. And actually it was a toss-up because the person in charge was a British actor, and he wanted it to be the Order of the Buffaloes. So out of the members, I believe 8 members wanted it to be the Elks, and the other 7 wanted it to be the Order of the Buffaloes, and the Elks won. So that's how it became about as the Benevolent Protective Order of Elks. So,
I mean, doesn't the Order of the Buffaloes, isn't that Fred Flintstone?
it sounds like
Isn't that head thing that he used to wear? By the way, I collect Native American art, so I'm up close to buffaloes, and while they are a very docile creature by nature, if you provoke one and you get one, if you get near a mother and her calf, she'll run you over like a Dodge Ram truck. I mean, she'll come at you with everything she's got. But how is it? I mean, over the years, obviously, everything that's been incorporated into what you folks do for the communities. Is there anything out there, Rick and Debbie, that you would like to do, that you'd like to see for the future, that the Elks start to take on more of a role in your communities? Because let's be honest, South Florida or Atlanta or Baltimore or New York, they're unique communities and they have unique needs for the communities. Do you, as Elks, recognize those needs in the South Florida community and try to program your organization to help those particular needs from time to time and incorporate them into what you do?
Yeah, Gary. In addition to helping veterans, the Elks have a scholarship program, and believe it or not, the Elks are second only to the U.S. government in scholarships, academic scholarships each year. We give away millions of dollars in scholarships. In fact, last year, the year before rather, one young fellow from Miami won a $25,000 scholarship. And of course, they also have $5,000 scholarships as well. And they give out, several of these each year. So that's one program that we have. That is, Debbie touched on Umatilla. The Harry Anna Trust is a Florida trust only. And Harry and Anna Miller years ago donated a building, which was a hospital. They built into a hospital to treat kids with cerebral palsy. And that stayed up for quite a few years until they came up with a cure for cerebral palsy, and they didn't need the hospital anymore. So they sold the building, and they used the funds to build the youth camp up in Umatilla. And it's 405 acres. Debbie's been there. I've never visited. I'm just too lazy to go, I guess. But well, it's a camp. Now they actually have beautiful dormitories, and we take care of, I think, 1,000 kids a week for 8 weeks, regardless if they can afford to pay or not. And they're kids from, I think, 9 years old to 13 years old. And it's rated one of the best youth camps in the United States. It's gorgeous. They have zip lines, they have water sports, archery, and It's just unbelievable.
Well, I'll make a bet with you, Rick. When I come home, you and I and Martha will get in the car. You'll pack me a lunch of Swedish meatballs. I love his Swedish meatballs, by the way, Debbie. If you've never had his Swedish meatballs, you have not lived. But I will take a run up there. I just want to say this. This is Gary Allen here with Mainstreet. We'll be on every Tuesday at 2 p.m. this afternoon. I have members of the Elks Club along with Rick Del Vecchio joining us. He's also Friends of the Japanese Garden. We're going to talk about that a little bit later on. But I have Debbie Gillibart. She's the president of the South of Miami Coral Gables Elks Lodge 1676. Rick Del Vecchio, who's a member of that lodge as well. And of course, the man himself, the voice, Alex. Alex, your last name again, I forget.
Tashira.
When I come home, Alex, I want to do some voiceover work with you. I'll just walk in the studio and do something. You don't have to pay me anything. Let's talk about joining the Elks. If someone is watching this program, or will be watching it when we put it on YouTube, how do they go about joining the Elks? I know there's a website that they can go to, but can they walk into an Elks Club and get a membership there, or find out the information they need?
Absolutely. They can walk into our Elks Lodge, and there's an application that they can fill out. And we'd be more than happy to talk to them about joining our lodge.
Okay.
Basically, you just have to be an American citizen and believe in God. And that's it. And even if you had been a convicted felon, not that I'm promoting that we want felons, but, as long as they've been truthful and mentioned that in their application, and they pass the muster, and they're not still in a life of crime, we'll accept those folks too. That's what, religious folks do, right? You forgive.
Yeah.
But we've got, now I want to mention something. Bill Bang couldn't make it, but I want to commend him. His lodge, I think he was number 4 or 5 in the state of Florida on recruiting members. He recruited, I think, 160. Is that correct?
I believe something like that.
160 members.
He probably will and pass that.
Yeah, in 1 year, he brought in 160 members to his lodge, which is phenomenal. Because, as you know, Gary, I've been in a bunch of organizations, Advertising Federation of Greater Miami, Magicians, the Elks. Every organization nationwide has a membership problem, retaining members, getting new members, and the Elks is no different. And we're lucky too. We were in the positive. We were always finishing the top 10%, I think, on increase in membership. But Bill did a magnificent job with 160 members, and now I think they have close to 700-800 members back in that lodge. So that's great.
I saw on Facebook, because I'm a friends of the membership committee out of Chicago, how the drive was going, and I think it was like 75,000 new members since the drive began. I don't know what number or where it is at this particular point in time, but I know that that's been going very, very well. By the way, you mentioned something about even if you have a criminal record or anything, which brings up a quick story about me in the military. When I was up for a promotion, and the colonel sat in front of me, Colonel Abertassi, who was the president's pilot, and he said, "You have a remarkable military record." And I looked around like this. I went, "Are you talking about my military record?" And I said, I've done some things in Vietnam that I'm not exactly proud of, but I know that there's a lot of help for veterans and their families. And I know there are scholarship funds that are given out, and I know that it's on a limited basis. Debbie, talk about that. I mean, there's a couple of scholarship funds that for children of veterans that have passed on, that are members of the Elks, or that are in a physical condition that they cannot work or whatever. The Elks come in every year, maybe once here or once there, and they help out these young people to go to college and to further their education.
I would like to pass that question on to Rick, because he's the one that handles our scholarships, and he could really answer that well.
All right.
Yeah. Basically,
see, that's what being a trustee is. You can pass it on. The president can pass it on to the trustee. Okay.
That's it. I'll have Rick fill it out. Yeah, there's several veterans programs. Like you mentioned, the scholarship program is one. And also you mentioned earlier about adopting a vet, which we haven't gotten around to do it in our lodge, but I want to try to make that one of our goals for our upcoming year. You adopt a veteran and help them out. But also there's another program for homeless veterans as a transition to housing, where the VA will find a home for them, an apartment. The Elks will give up to $500 to buy essentials like, just whatever they need, blenders, a bed, electric razor, anything. So
Yeah.
that's a program and it's unlimited, and we just have to do the paperwork, find the veterans, work with the VA. And again, not making excuses, but all of us still work for a living and we have our own families, but we try to put in as much time as possible. But if you're going to be considering becoming an Elk, even if you could just donate 2 or 3 hours a week, or a couple hours a month to help out doing these things, there's so much that can be done. But getting back to this, so that's one of our goals, is to try to work harder with the Elks National Foundation and use the funds that they want to give us to help these veterans locally, because it's just sad. Fred Jocko was mentioned that I think it's 65 suicides per day of veterans. It's
a shocking amount of veterans that are homeless, that are committing suicide every day. And I'm not going to get into the weeds. It's a favorite expression of mine, Debbie. I apologize, but as a veteran, and Rick knows this, I don't talk about it very much. I mean, on this program we're talking about it, but I don't talk about it, do I, Rick? Very much about my time. But I really sometimes am just so angry at our government for what little they do. They call upon us to serve our nation, but when we need their help, it's like, okay, you're like the flu, get away from us, get away. John McCain fought for us. Other veterans have fought for us, but those are far and few and in between. And we, as citizens of this country, need to pick up the mantle and move forward and help the young men and women of today and their families. Because, here's the other thing too, Debbie, and I'm sure you're aware of this, and Rick and Alex, it's not just the person that goes off in the military.
Oh, yeah. No.
Okay.
It's the families that are left behind. And during this pandemic in particular, and I know you've seen it on the news, where families have had to go to food banks to get food for their families. That's something I'm being serious, deadly serious now. I want to work on when I come home with Rick and with everybody down there and make sure, not only that, but our first responders too.
Right.
Our police officers, our firemen and veterans of all kinds that are there for us, and we need to do more for them. Alex, as a new member of the lodge, what would you like to implement? What things are you excited about?
Well, we have a lot of different. We actually have a couple of things in mind. I'm not sure we can. They're early on. We can't maybe not discuss them, but bring in new activities to the lodge, because that attracts people, right?
Mm-hmm.
We have a wonderful lounge there, for instance. So there are events that go on there, and we're planning some new events for the lodge to excuse me,
to try to get more members.
Correct.
Yeah.
Go ahead, because I have a tickle in my throat. I'm going to cough.
I want to touch. We're going to go back to the charitable thing, because what Alex was touching on, we're going to start. Actually, we have every Tuesday Jeff Zavak's piano bar and jazz band.
It's
every
wonderful.
Thursday, it's fantastic. It really is. The man is very talented. Thursdays we have open mic, and that's Scott Katz and Rob Hardwick, and who's the other fellow? Oh my God, I forgot his name.
Rob. I just know Rob.
Okay, well, anyway, those guys put on a great job on open mic night. And then Fridays we have comedy club, magic, music, and fun times. And we have a big band that comes on once a month, which is fabulous. Starting like 16 to 18 musicians, and it's unbelievable. And then karaoke every second and fourth Saturday, and then the first and third are at the other lodge, 948. Now these events,
Go on.
Yeah, these are social events that are benefits for the members to attend, but we also encourage members to bring friends and non-members so they can get a look at the lodge and say, hey, this is a cool place to go and join eventually. And then hopefully you get a small percentage of those that become trustees or volunteers.
It
and
sounds
help
to
out.
me, it sounds to me, now this is just coming from me up here in Palm Bay, the thriving metropolis, that when I come home, I won't have to do anything but show up at the lodge every night.
Yeah, that's it. That's
That's
it.
pretty much it.
I mean,
Yeah.
I won't have to do anything else. Now, by the way, Rick, I did see your karaoke the other night on Facebook. I did see. Debbie, did you see it?
I did see it. I'm
Yeah,
usually
yeah.
there. This weekend I wasn't able to be. I was out of town, but Monday, Tuesday through Saturday, I'm there in the evenings.
Yeah.
Are you there usually? How many did you say Monday through Saturday? You're there every night?
I try to be. I try to
Yeah.
be. Not no Tuesday through Saturday.
Oh,
Yeah,
Tuesday through
we're
Saturday.
closed Mondays right now. Yeah.
Yeah, we
Okay.
have so much going on that it's become a really nice place to go. And the other day I was driving around and I was going to get something to eat. And I said, you know what? If I'm going to pay for food or get something to eat, I might as well support my lodge. And I went to the lodge and had some dinner and listened to the piano bar. It was very nice.
And by the way, for those of you that are tuning in, I'm Gary Allen. This is Main Street. We have members of the Elks Lodge in South Florida. The president is Debbie Gillibart, and we have Rick Del Vecchio from 1676. And if you want to join, you just go on elks.com or you show up at the lodge. Just find out where your local lodge is, wherever you live. Fill out the application, talk to the people. They'll take you through the process. And you can't join a better organization. By the way, Main Street will be on every Tuesday at 2 p.m. here on the C News Network. And I'm so grateful to be back on the air down here in South Florida. What makes the Elks different than everybody else?
Well, I mean, I'll answer that. And it's funny. Everybody, they have their different quirks. Rotary Club, for instance, and Kiwanis. I believe both those organizations require their members to come to at least 2 lunch meetings per month. And let's say, I don't know what the fee is. I know years ago when I was in Homestead, I knew a lot of Kiwanis that met down there at one of the restaurants, and they would charge $25 for the luncheon. If you didn't show up, you still had to pay the $25. However, the Rotary and the Kiwanis don't have a building. They don't have a clubhouse. We have a clubhouse. We have members, but we don't force them to come and spend money at the lodge, which if we did, we wouldn't have any financial problems. But it costs us about $150,000 to $160,000 to operate our lodge. And I know 948 is a huge operation. It's even more money there. So to raise that money, we have to rent out our ballroom and space. And it's great because all our rentals, knock on wood, we have Pulse Church on Sundays, and we have an organization called Branches, which meets Monday through Friday, and it's sort of a daycare center for children, an after-school program for children, and they're a 501c3, as is the church. Both those, and the Boy Scouts also meet, and all those organizations help us out in our charitable efforts. For instance, like I said, last year during the pandemic, we raised about $30,000. The church probably brought in another $30,000 of food that they collected, and together we help them distribute it to families. So it's a great center. The Elks organization, if you operate it and most of them do, I believe, they do rent their facilities out, and you rent it out to other nonprofits, and you build this network of community partners, if you will, and it works out great. As you mentioned, I joined through our Magic Club. Now, in addition to that, you see, no, you don't. There you go. Friends of the Japanese Garden. I'll get into that later. I'm the president of that organization. Yeah. Again, sucked in. Oh, just help us this way. But anyway, what's interesting is 15 years ago, the Magic Club was involved. And of course of that, I was involved also with the Japanese Garden. During the pandemic, everything was closed down. The city of Miami closed down everything. I produced festivals at the Japanese Garden. It was closed. So we were able to use our grant money to hold virtual festivals. We held it at the Elks Lodge in the ballroom. Right. And we filmed it, and it's on YouTube, and you could watch the Japanese festivals safely from the comfort of your own home. But yet we were able to continue that year, even though it was a pandemic. We were able to do our 3 events at the Elks Lodge. It worked out great.
Rick, speaking of the pandemic, have you seen more and more people coming to the events now that, well, we still have to wear masks in certain communities, and other communities you don't. And I know in Miami, it kind of fluctuates from yes to wear them, not to wear them. You and I have talked about it on the phone. Have you noticed, you and Debbie, you and Rick, have you noticed more people starting to come on out again,
Yeah. In
back
fact,
into whatever our life was before.
even last March, when we I think we did our charity bowl in February last year.
Right. Right.
We had 134 people show up then, and you remember that the pandemic was just
And it's still,
starting to ease up a little bit, and then it came back strong again. But to answer your question, yes, we opened up right after they reopened the restaurants. We reopened our ballroom. We didn't open the lounge, but we reopened the ballroom to give enough space. And two of our members, Linda Hurley and Mike Pollard, you know Mike very well.
Yeah, I know Mike very well.
Mike and I have been advertising together since '95, and I've known him since 1970.
I know his papa. I even know his papa.
Yeah, Bob. He's up in Stewart, by the way, retired to Stewart. But anyway, Mike and Linda, they cook and tended bar and did takeout dinners. So you could go online, order your dinner, come pick it up and leave. But at the same time, we had the jazz band started practicing in the ballroom. And again, about 6 guys spread out. And it was a safe environment. We made tables of 2 to 4. You didn't have to sit with a bunch of people. And it was successful. We started bringing the people back out. And, it's almost back to normal.
yeah, it is.
I mean, here's the thing too. When it comes to organizations like the Elks and other places, I know what it's like up here in Central Florida. I think we're all learning to live with this. I think we've all realized it's not going away anytime soon, just as soon as we think it is, and we can relax a little. Things happen and things change. So I would imagine the Elks have to acclimate themselves to those changes as well as time moves forward to adjust to what's going on. Now, Rick, you and I discussed at one time that there was a group of elderly citizens who came there for, is it bingo, I think? Used to come in for bingo or something.
That was a while ago. Yeah, no. They play bridge players.
Bridge.
Right.
And they are very frightful and naturally so. We don't know anything about this, but it's gratifying that you guys are reaching out to all these different people and things like that. I want to talk about one thing here, and that's the welcome home kits.
Right.
I think these are so, Debbie, these are so vitally important for our veterans and for our folks. Talk about those, would you please?
Yeah.
Well, Rick can embellish.
Yeah,
more,
that's the $500 up to $500 is a welcome home kit, Gary. I just forgot the name of it. You just reminded me. But yeah, that's veterans that had been homeless, and now they, through the help of the VA or other agencies, they have an apartment or home to live in, but yet they have no furnishings or the lack of furnishings. So the Elks National Foundation will give us up to $500 to help that family, buy the essentials they need to get back on their feet.
Right. And of course, the last time we did a program with the Elks, there is a daycare facility down there in Miami, and I forget the name of the young lady.
Kateria.
Yeah.
And I remember her name. She's a member of our lodge, just DISISLE. So you pronounce it, ladies and gentlemen, Dissel or something like that. Very nice lady, and she runs that daycare center, and it's going to kick me in the butt, but I forgot the name of the daycare center, so she's going to shoot me. But next time we'll get it. We'll get
her on. We'll get her on the next time we're going to do something. That's what I love about the Elks organization, is reaching out to everybody, bringing everybody inclusive. You're not excluding anybody. You're including everybody. You're making you live in these communities, so you're making the communities part of the Elks, and you're helping people, even if they're not members of the Elks necessarily. I mean, I know Captain Jocko and I talked about this, that even if this veteran isn't a member of the Elks, we're helping them.
Oh, of course.
And Captain Jocko and I, of course, share a brotherhood that cannot be ever broken. But, that's what I like. And you do that for the regular communities during Christmas time. I think one year, didn't you dress up as Santa Claus?
That was at Lodge 948. I was asked to put on a magic show, which I did, and then Barry Wake came over to me as I was packing up, getting ready to leave. He goes, "Listen, can you do us another favor?" I said, "What's that?" He goes, "Our Santa Claus didn't show up, and we have the costume here." So I dressed up as Santa, and they had a sleigh. And the funny part, my revenge was, okay, are these guys going to be able to pull me in on this sleigh? But They did, and we had a good time, and they gave away presents to underprivileged children. It was a great event, and I did that 2 years in a row. 2 years doing the magic, 1 year of Santa. The Santa showed up the next year.
I mean that's what I really like. And let's get back to the event that's coming up this weekend, Rick. I know we talked about it very briefly,
Sure.
but let's talk about it some more. For those of you that are out there that are members of the Elks that are watching this particular program this afternoon, you do have an event coming up at Lodge 1676. And the Madam President has joined us, of course. I'm Gary Allen on Main Street, Rick Del Vecchio, Debbie Gillibart, and we're so excited to be able to do this show. We're going to be doing shows like this from time to time throughout the year. We're on every Tuesday at 2 p.m. right here on the C News Network. We'll advise you of what's going on through Facebook. So we're very pleased and very happy to be back. Rick, let's talk about the event this weekend because that could raise a few shillings to help out things.
Yeah. Like I said, it's going to be a mystery dinner show, and the performers, 3 of them, are right here: myself, Debbie, and Alex. Alex is the lead detective, who's pretty much directing the whole thing, and then myself and Debbie are different characters. There's going to be 6 other performers, so we have 8 performers plus Alex. And for those who are going, oh my God, let me tell you, we're having a lot of fun practicing, and I think you're going to enjoy the show. All the people that come to the show, come to the dinner, will get a scorecard, and they watch and try to unravel the clues to figure out who the murderer is. Okay. And whoever gets it right, if there's more than one, we have a drawing, but whoever wins, we have a nice prize for them for the evening. But it's going to be a fun, and we're going to do it during the dinner hour. So this way, for those that aren't interested, they could just eat. But the ones that are can pay some attention and play along with the game. It's going to be a lot of fun. And then, like I said, afterwards, Alan Smith, who's a great DJ, he'll play music from all genre. So if you want to do line dancing, he'll do line dancing music, grand ballroom dancing, pop, rock and roll, whatever. We're going to have a little bit of everything. And it's $55, and it's our biggest fundraiser of the year. Last year, I think we raised about $5,000 we netted, which went to the Haryana Fund and other charities that we support. Right. And, it's a fun night and a nice way to raise some funds. We'll have a silent auction with some items that can be, purchased at a decent price. I
want to impress to everybody that the Elks is a nonprofit, folks. It's not like Rick Del Vecchio and Debbie gets paid or Alex gets paid for the things that they do. They don't. This is strictly from their heart to you. As citizens of Miami and members of the Elks Club, this is something that they do as something they love to do. I mean, I don't know if I could hang out at the Elks Lodge 6 nights a week, but, although you never know. I mean, at my age, it's hard to say. But at any particular rate, this is done from the heart. They don't get paid for this. This is something they do because they love to do it. And I'm all for stuff like that. All right, I got to know, Madam President, what character are you portraying?
Oh, my character is a famous actress. And I don't want to give her name, but it's a famous actress in the show. And,
okay.
And actually, Rick is my boyfriend, or what would you be?
Well, they say I'm a gigolo, and you're paying me to be with you. That's you. That's
gigolo. You're a gigolo.
That's the real script. That's the actual script.
All right, my name is Mimi Cry. It's what my name is.
Yeah, and mine is Jig-O-Lo. Anyway.
Alex came up with some good names.
Yeah.
No,
Jig-O-Lo. Oh my goodness gracious! All right,
I'm the detective in the thing.
Inspector Clouseau.
Let's have to Clouseau, yeah.
Inspector Clouseau.
It's going to be a fun night. Yeah.
It should. It sounds like fun, and I'm up here in Palm Bay on Saturday night. I'll be doing what I do on Saturday nights, and never mind. Any particular way, you guys are gonna. I can't. I'll be honest with you, and Rick knows this. I can't wait to come home because. Have you ever been to Palm Bay? Okay. The all-night diner closes at 12 noon.
The all-night diner.
I'm telling you. It is. It's very boring. Rick, we've got. I guess we've got about 15 minutes left, and I know you want to talk about the Japanese garden.
Sure.
And all the news. And I'm really glad that the Japanese garden and the Elks kind of overlap each other and have been helping each other. I mean, that's what communities are all about.
Yeah, the Japanese Garden, they have a full page ad coming out in the program for the charity ball, and they purchased a table of 8, and so we support each other. Real quick, I mean, the Japanese Garden, Friends of the Japanese Garden was founded in 1984 to help the city of Miami manage and maintain the Japanese Garden and promote the Japanese culture. The way I got involved in 2005, after Hurricane Andrew destroyed the garden, and the Japanese Friends of the Japanese Garden got together with the city of Miami and the Council General of Japan to come up with the funds to rebuild it. And they got Ricoh Corporation involved, and they started rebuilding it in 2005. Right before they rebuilt it, they had an event called Kagoshima Week. And Kagoshima, Japan is a port city just like Miami, and we're sister cities. And again, I wasn't involved at all at that time until Bob Parenti, who's no longer with us, but a dear friend I've known for years. He was the director of arts, director of film and entertainment for the city of Miami under Manny Diaz. And he calls me up and says, Rick, can you help me with something? I said, sure. We got this Kagoshima week coming on. They're going to have 30 dignitaries from Japan, including the mayor and our mayor, going to get together. They're going to have all these events. I just need you to help me get some inexpensive shirts and T-shirts made. Can you come to a meeting? So I show up at the meeting. When I left, I was ended up running all the PR for it as well, pro bono. So we did. I got one of my clients, Armstrong Toyota, to put up a Toyota, and a lady won the Toyota. So everybody was thrilled with me. And then they went on and they opened up the garden. And about a year later, Miss Youngblood calls me up and says, you were so nice to help us out. We're going to start putting events on at the garden again. I'd like you to, I'd like to pay you, your advertising services. So I gave her a very reasonable fee to do the 3 events. And then after like the second event, she says, the board members would like to meet you. So you want to come to lunch? We're going to have a lunch meeting. I said, sure. So at the meeting, everybody's thrilled to meet me. And Agnes makes a comment, boy, I wish we can get a better sound system. The one the city has stinks. And like an idiot, I said, well, you could borrow my sound system. And she goes, oh, thank you, but we wouldn't want to be responsible for it. Can you operate it for us? So I found myself at 7 a.m. till 7 p.m. And that's how I got started with the Japanese Garden. And several years later, Agnes kind of retired. A fellow named Richard Friedlander became the president, and he was with the University of Miami. And then he retired, and then I ended up as president. And so I've been president for the last 10 years or so, and it's been a great experience.
Tell everybody where the Japanese Garden is.
It's right next to Jungle Island on Watson Island on MacArthur Causeway. And it's called the Ichimura Miami Japan Garden because Mr. Ichimura, the founder of Ricoh Corporation, back in 1957 was in town for a camera convention exhibition, and he was looking out from his hotel, looking east into Watson Island, and was thinking out loud and says, boy, that would be a great place for a Japanese garden. And a commissioner was standing next to him and says, well, if I gave you the land, would you pay for it? And he said, yes. And 4 years later, 1961, they opened up the Japanese Garden, and and it's been there in some form or another. Hurricanes have knocked it out twice. It just went into despair, and in 1984, it was like in shambles. And that's when the Friends of the Japanese Garden was formed, and they worked with Ricoh Corporation, City of Miami, to come up with funds to rebuild it, and we've been helping all along doing that.
Right.
And as I mentioned. With the pandemic, we did our last 3 not our last 3, but the 3 festivals during the pandemic we did in the ballroom at the garden at the Elks Lodge. So it's been a great combination.
Yeah, I mean it really sounds like a great place. I know that when I lived in Chicago, I used to go to the gardens up there. My now late wife. We used to go up to the gardens that were a little north of the city of Chicago, and I always liked to go to the bonsai trees and stuff like that, and just sit there and relax and just kind of forget about whatever is bothering me for the day. So I know that places like that are extremely important. And does it cost anything to go inside the Japanese Garden?
No, it's a public park owned by the city of Miami, and it's free. It's open 9 to 5, 7 days a week. And like I said, we put on 3 festivals a year. We just had one February 20th, and Alex was there and played. This guy's unbelievable. He sings. Does magic. He plays the Japanese flute. He plays the piano. He writes music. But very.
He's a great voiceover guy.
And very voiceover guy too. Yeah, that's how he makes his living.
Yeah, Debbie, what's coming up with the Elks besides this event this weekend, which we'll give it a plug one more time. But what else is coming up here in the next couple of months or so that members of the organization should be aware of?
Well, as far as events that we have, I know the charity ball's coming up this weekend, and I know that us as officers, we're going to be traveling to Orlando for some meetings and stuff. But as far as any events going, we have our regular things going on weekly. I don't think we have anything planned, any large events planned right now.
Right. Well, I'm going to, after I write the final report on the last grant, I'm going to start writing some more ENF grants. So we'll have some things to go on in the next few months. But to answer your question, when I say we, Gary, I, and Debbie, we're trying to fill up as many nights as possible with entertainment. And like I said, Saturdays, it was only karaoke second and third Saturdays, but it's starting in April. We're going to have a magic Saturday night magic the first Saturday of the month. And then the last Saturday of the month, the third Saturday of the month will be comedy open mic again. So to try to fill in that. So that means we'll have something every Friday night, every Saturday night, every Thursday night, and every Tuesday night.
That's how I got started doing comedy. Well, you know Rick, my uncle. Debbie, how long have you lived in South Florida?
Well, I'm from Key West, and I've lived here in Miami since 1980. So
okay, well, Rick knows this too well. Alex probably would remember if he's lived there long enough. My uncle was an entertainer on Miami Beach for 35 years. His name was Tubby Boots.
Yeah.
And that's how I initially got started doing stand-up comedy. And so open mic nights and everything to me are nothing new. As a matter of fact, he used to have me drive him because he couldn't drive to these amateur contests. And a quick story, the last one before he passed away, we went to before he went on a trip, and on his trip he passed. I said to him, I will drive you this last time, but if an 8-year-old kid gets up and sings My Way one more time, I'm out of there. I'm out of there. We went through the whole night, and finally some little kid, 7 years old, little Bobby so-and-so from North Miami Beach. What are you going to sing for us, Bobby? My Way. He didn't even get through saying My Way. I'm up, I'm moving, and Tubby goes, how am I going to get home? I said, have little Bobby take you. But so I'm used to that. So that's what I'm looking forward to. And I think everyone if you watch this show, there's so many things to do there. The food is wonderful. The company is great. People who are members of the Elks, these are people who care about their communities. They care about the people that are members of the club. They care about I mean, it's just a wonderful atmosphere. And I can't wait. Again, I keep emphasizing that right now it's not possible, but I can't wait to get home. I mean, Miami is my home. I went to the U after all, and I'm very proud of that. And I just can't wait to get home and share and be part of everything that's going on. And again, Debbie, if somebody wants to be a member of the Elks, what are the places they can go to?
They can either they can go to the lodge close to them, or they can call our lodge, which the phone number is 305-668-1676, which is the number of our lodge. Or they can also send an email to elkslodge1676@gmail.com, or they can walk in and speak to either Linda or Mike Poller, fill out an application. I mean, there's many ways.
So Mike's there 24/7?
No, well, he's there a couple days a week. Yeah, more than he'd like to be. I can tell you that. But one other thing, Gary, I want to tell you, which incorporates the Elks Lodge, the Friends of the Japanese Garden, and the Magic Club.
Sure.
This year is the 100th anniversary of the International Brotherhood of Magicians. So our lodge last year celebrated our lodge. Well, our lodge celebrated its 75th anniversary, and our Magic Club coincidentally had its 75th anniversary. This year, the Friends of the Japanese Garden acted again for the second time as our physical agent which allowed us to apply for a grant from the community, a community arts grant, and we were given some money to put on another convention. So we're going to have a free lecture on June 4th, a free lecture on June 11th. This is for the general public, magicians, non-magicians, and that'll be free to the general public, and that'll be held at the Elks Lodge. And then on the 18th, we do have a day of magic, which you will pay for, and there's different price ranges, which we're putting together. And we hire talent from all over the world for this. We're trying to work on a Japanese magician that we're working on, that if we get this guy, he's a world-renowned magician, and it's going to be astonishing. And then we're working on some other talent from Las Vegas, as well as some local talent here. And once I get all these names locked up, we'll be back on the show to promote it, as well as all my advertising to my magician friends, the Elks and the Japanese Garden. But it's great because we have the event at the Elks Lodge, and the Japanese Garden, as a physical agent, which is a 501c3, allows my nonprofit Magic Club, which is not a 501c3, to apply for these community arts grants. And this is the second time we were awarded a grant. Last year, we did it for our 75th, and this year we're going to be celebrating the 100th anniversary of the IBM, which is 100 years of sharing the art of magic. And it's going to be a great event.
I know, because you were the one that introduced me to the late Harry Anderson.
That's right. Yeah, Harry was a friend of mine, and I worked a couple times with him, and it was great. Yeah.
What a really nice gentleman he was to me, and that's the other thing. What I like about the Elks, Debbie, it reminds me of the show. Well, I mean, that's how the Elks began, but it reminds me of the show business community where I come from. People think that we're very selfish and self-centered, and we only care about ourselves, and we don't. We give. Now, not everybody, but we give. We care. We know what it's like to struggle. We know what it's like that in between jobs, you got to work a part-time job to put food on the table when you're first starting out, or even if you're not first starting out. I mean, it happens through different levels of life. But that's what I like about the Elks, and I like how friendly and everybody is. I know Paula, I know Del Vecchio, I know a few others, but it's really a gas. And like I said, I keep looking forward to it. And for those of you that are watching out there, you can't find a better organization to be part of. An organization that cares about the community they live in. They take care of the people, the veterans especially, and our first responders as well. And I just can't say enough. And I'm really also, because we're coming down to the wire, I want to thank all of you for joining us here this afternoon. But mostly, I want to thank my guests, Debbie, Rick, Alex. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day, joining us here on Main Street.
Thank you for
Can I say one more thing, Gary? I'll try to do it in 30 seconds.
Sure.
One thing the Japanese Garden has also done is lobbied with the city of Miami and Jungle Island. Prior to the pandemic, we worked with John Dunlap to try to get the referendum approved where they could build a 130-room hotel on the Jungle Island property. And that was approved. And part of the deal is once they build that hotel and put the plans into play, they're going to donate $750,000 to renovate the Japanese Garden and work with the city. And our organization, through one of our members, Akiko Iwata, who's she's a designer of Japanese Garden, they're going to work together with Jungle Island to make the garden nicer and also incorporate it with Jungle Island. And Commissioner Ken Russell has been very helpful with that. And we want to get to meet with Ken Russell and Curtis Kreider from the Japanese Garden, from the Jungle Island, and also the Council General of Japan to start working on that again. Because right now, Jungle Island, since the pandemic, has been closed down and they're renovating. So we're going to meet with them soon, and we'll start with a timeline to when we can get these improvements laid out. So
absolutely, that sounds wonderful, and you'll come back on the show and talk about that as well as the Elks. And I just, again, thank you so much for being here. Next week, I have a great guest for you. Dave Lamont's going to be joining us, the great broadcaster, longtime friend, and we're going to talk about everything sports, and we're going to have a great time. But thank you so much, Alex, Rick, Debbie. Thank you so much. God bless you. I hope you have a great week. And until next week, take care of yourselves and each other.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Gary.
Thanks, Gary.